Stop wasting hours Googling. Get expert answers in one evening. You could spend months scrolling forums, second guessing diets, and piecing together advice that just doesn't work. Or you could spend one evening at the Allergy and Gut Health Summit and get direct guidance from world class experts who understand allergy mums' struggles. Save your time, your sanity, and your energy. Walk away with clear, evidence based answers for your child. Hi, I'm Emma Sutherland, clinical naturopath, author, mum, and your host. With over 20 years in clinical practice, I've helped thousands of women and families transform their health with evidence based integrative strategies. I'm really deeply passionate about making science simple and actionable so that you feel confident and empowered in your health decisions. This channel is your go-to for trusted insights, expert interviews, and practical tools that support real-life wellness. Allergies are incredibly common here in Australia. We are the allergy capital of the world. Food allergy is common and estimated to affect about 1 in 10 babies, 1 in 20 teens, and 1 in 50 adults. Approximately 1 in 3 people will develop allergies at some point during their life. Now, this is a significant public health issue, and the annual cost of allergies in Australia is more than $7 billion. And alarming new research shows that hospital admissions for anaphylaxis in Australian kids has increased fivefold over the past 20 years. In this episode, I'm talking to Dr. Nina Markovic, the founder to Immunity Group Australia and the Allergy Microbiome Foundation. Stay with us. You might be very surprised at how traditional thinking on allergies could be wrong, and we need to change the way that we do things. Hi, Nina. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us today.
It's so delightful to be with you as always, Emma.
Now, Nina, I know you're an allergy mum. Can you tell us a little bit about your personal experience with food allergies?
Australia, being the food allergy capital of the world, definitely lives up to this reputation. I'm a first generation Australian. My husband is also first generation Australian. Nobody in our families has food allergies. My mom has a little bit of sensitivity to feathers. That's about it. And first child was born. First time that we saw that something was wrong was actually in the hospital. A midwife gave her a bottle of formula and she was throwing up the whole day on day 2 of her life. And they said, oh, it must be because of the birth, it was cesarean. So one of the potential risk factors for actually food allergies. But the second and third exposures, usually for people with food allergies, are much worse and potentially fatal. So the first time that we gave her formula at home, which was about 2-3 months later, she completely stopped breathing. We had no idea. First, they vomited and became floppy and stopped breathing. We called an ambulance. They took forever to come. That's how it felt. We went to the hospital and nothing would be given to her. And the worst part as a food allergy mom was when we were being discharged with a 3-month-old baby, they said that this can repeat in the next 24 hours. And what does it mean? You're just telling us to go home with a small baby. We have no idea what food allergies are. We read about it somewhere, saw it on television. Nothing, no education. So the supports at that first point of realization is actually quite poor. There was no neonatologist, there was no pediatrician call. Just go home and if something gets worse, you come back. That first shock throws you into the food allergy life. And I think a lot of our program families as well have had similar experiences. That initial support, which you really expect at the emergency department level, it does not exist. And then we saw about 7 private and public allergists. We became part of an online community. And avoidance is the advice that's given to Australian food allergy moms, but over avoidance. When a food allergy reaction happens, the body often starts reacting to things that it's not actually allergic to. So my daughter was reacting to rice and the most ridiculous things you wouldn't think would potentially cause an allergic reaction, very rarely. But because of her sensitivity and also the blood in her stool. For months before reaction, she had blood in her stool. So we went to countless GPs saying, why is this baby having half of her nappy soiled in actual fresh blood?
Yeah.
N- Even made a connection with the possibility of food allergy through the breast milk.
As you
Yeah.
know, I treat a lot of families that have allergies. And I think in Australia, we're told that kids just need to live with a food allergy forever. But I really love that this thinking is starting to be challenged with programs like Dr. Jones. Can you tell us a little bit about the program and then how it's different to what's usually offered as treatment?
Not just in Australia, but globally, there are only about, let's say, 1,000 allergists worldwide over the last 15 years who started applying the principles of immunotherapy to food allergy. Immunotherapy as a concept is over 100 years old. We have had desensitization to dust mites, and venom. Even in Australia, we're actually the leader in innovation in the venom space, as well as Slovenia in Europe for bees, for example, bee venom. But food allergies is not an area which distinguishes Australia in that progressive sense. So, as a community, 6 families, including my own, 8 children, we asked a doctor in America, Dr. Douglas Jones, to share his protocols with Australian doctors and medical professionals and help our children. And this is how the whole initiative started. Dr. Jones's program was unique to Utah. So for 11 years, Australian families would actually go to Utah. There was a compound of at one point 50 Australian moms with their children residing in Utah for up to a year. Fathers would normally either fly in, fly out, or send money. And then the pandemic happened. So all these moms and kids rushed back. And for about 3 years, the channel was closed because of our own border restrictions. And then we brought Dr. Jones's protocol to Australia together, of course, with him. And we became business owners and we employed doctors and nurses and trained them. And now we have more than 22 general practitioners in our network and expanding to New Zealand as well. So this is something that was unimagined in Australia 3 years ago. But I just got back from a global food allergy OIT conference organized by FAST OIT. And Dr. Jones is actually the president of this association. This was the 8th or 9th annual conference. And actually, in Britain, GPs have been doing oral immunotherapy for more than 5 years. The whole GP model exists of
Yeah.
administering and delivering food based solutions for food allergy families. But in Australia, we were the first in a private capacity because of our need to help our children. My daughter, who was hospitalized 15 times with resus even in ED, she's now freely eating milk and egg. And my son, who was also hospitalized for nuts allergies, he's now freely eating all nuts, all cakes with a daily maintenance dose. So the program itself takes around 12 to 18 months. It requires a fortnightly commitment of coming to the clinic or to your GP who is trained in Dr. Jones's protocols to updose under medical supervision. So it's a gradual exposure to the allergen in question until you reach food freedom. And food freedom concept, as I saw just now at the conference in the US, it's also debatable. What is food freedom? What does for this family mean free eating? Is it just bite proof that you can have an accidental exposure and be fine? Or do you just want to like everybody else? Anxiety is a big factor in this process and mental health. Food allergy moms have that burden of caring through life with children with food allergies. So interestingly, divorce rates are quite high amongst parents with food allergy children because of that stress and burden that's usually placed on a mother. Not
Yeah.
always, but in many cases.
First of all, congratulations on bringing the program to Australia because we are much in need in this country. And I think that the concept of food freedom is such an alien concept for families that have been told that the only thing they can do is restrict and avoid for the rest of their life. Their lives become small. And then there's so much fear and anxiety, as you said. And life is very limited, which I'm sure you experience with your kids as well. This concept of food freedom is one that's heavily debated. Definitely would agree with you, but there is plenty of case studies of food freedom, and your kids are living examples of this. So I know it's possible. I think as well, it's about having the education and belief that it is possible and the confidence that it can be possible. Because if you've spent your whole kind of time with your child believing that that substance is going to kill them, just the concept, like this is a huge mindset shift for families, which I find must be really, really challenging for them to do because there is sort of so much fear involved. What helps the families to shift that mindset when they're being constantly told, this is not possible, you can't do this?
Psychosocial support is number one. So we have created a community of food allergy moms. We even registered a non-for-profit organization in this space to offer choice to families, to say, look at our children, they have reached food freedom. It's possible for almost everybody. It's really hard understanding that the choice actually exists
Mhm.
because we were told by 7 top allergists in Australia. We're talking about pretty eminent people who just chose not to do it. Because what happens when you reach food freedom? Well, you don't really go back to your allergy anymore. You can eat whatever you want unless you have a different problem that they need to address, like asthma or another problem. But there is no need to have regular visits anymore because you are actually living as normal life as possible.
Mm.
Children and adults who do this program should still carry EpiPens and antihistamines with them. Immune imbalance can always happen. But we traveled to Japan to celebrate our food freedom, to Disneyland, and our children ate anything they wanted on the plane.
Oh.
And planes are the most difficult place for parents with food allergies. Actually, more than half of food allergy families never dare to jump on a plane. So in our
Mm.
program, where families come from all over Australia to our clinic in Sydney, for many of them, this is the first time that a child has ever been on a plane. And then by the end of the program, some of them want to become pilots.
I love that. I was reading some research recently, and this was around epilepsy in kids. And it was looking at the statistics on when something is implemented, whether it's a medication or a diet like the keto diet, it takes a lot of compliance, both from the child and from the family, the caregivers. And I was looking at the statistics of how long people stay compliant for. And one of the big things that came out of the study was that compliance tends to drop. But the main reason that compliance tends to drop is called carer fatigue. It's so hard for mum and dad or the carers to keep up this level of vigilance. I love that you have a not for profit in this space that is specifically dedicated to supporting the caregivers in enabling this process to happen. And you said before, I think, that the average time in the program, I mean, everyone's going to be different, but the average time is around 12 months. Is that right?
12 to 18. My son finished in
Perfect.
10, which is
Yeah.
actually a bit faster than usual. And some finished in 18 months. But we had this remarkable case of a family who went to Utah this year. And you won't believe, in 3 months, but this is a very sort of unusual case. A child was one, because in our program, children have to be above 2 years old. He had many allergies, but they chose to treat 3 different ones: milk, egg, and peanut. They did use a biologic called Xolair, which is
Yes.
In America, it's approved for allergy treatment. Here, it can be used off label, but it's not used for food allergies. It's used for extreme asthma management. And the child reached food freedom, Emma, in 3 months. But he
Unbelievable.
was one. So the younger children start the program, the theory behind it, and this is what I was listening to for the last 2 days in Dallas at the annual conference, they can actually change their immune system. So the whole wait and see approach was completely discredited by more than 250 allergists at this conference who actually practice OIT. They start at the age of 4 months. That early are able to pretty much reverse their food allergy. Anybody above 2, it's less likely. And then different foods, interestingly, also have a different outgrowing rate. For example, for sesame, it's less than 20%. For cashew, it's less than 9% after the
Mm.
age of 2. And living with fear and reality of accidental exposures means you cannot go easily to birthday parties. You're actually often not even invited after a while.
Yeah.
We had a case with my daughter that her best friend said, "You can't come to my party because my mom thinks you're hard work." And she was devastated. This was her best friend. Of course, I confronted the mom about it, and she denied that she ever said that. But children don't really lie in that space that often. So the heartbreaks which happen because of those social relations are often causing mental health issues for children beyond anxiety,
Yes.
self-esteem issues, self-isolation. and southern. So mental health support for caregivers and children is really important. But interestingly, in our case, in
Mm.
terms of compliance and in terms of asking what patients and their families want, pretty much 99% say they want full food freedom. Unlike in America, where more in the UK, where more families choose just that by proof, they're given different options, but by proof is the most common option given. In our program, everybody wants just to be normal, with quote unquote, to be as their friends are. And we have achieved that both with adults and with young children. So we have 24-year-olds in the program who are
Yeah.
graduating. And those young adults who have never been able to participate in life as their peers, and they are so determined. The most important thing in terms of compliance is to respect the rest period. So after your dosing and your maintenance dosing, there is a rest period of up to 2 hours of low activity. So that means you really should not have that cup of milk and go and do yoga straight away, because
Yeah.
you might have some hives and some reactions. So respecting that boundary is important. And as long as you incorporate that in your life, Dr. Johnson's patients who went to Utah from Australia finished 12 years ago. That was his first patient, who lives on the Gold Coast now. And she's compliant. She's a young adult and she has her nuts 4 times a week, and that's it. So it's easier than diabetes medication for
Yeah.
diabetics. Gradually, it reduces in time, and it's literally food as medicine. It's incredible.
As a naturopath and I'm a homeopath as well, I find it so beautiful that there is this literally a cure for food allergies that involves basically microdosing the ingredient itself and then slowly increasing the dose of that food to the point where tolerance is achieved and then food freedom after that is achieved. So remind me again, with the program, is fortnightly dosing, and provided there's no kind of big step back in between the doses just gradually step up. Is that
That's
the
correct.
premise?
Every food has its own number of steps. So, for
Okay.
example, walnut and egg are shorter than milk and sesame and peanut, but it's not a ladder approach. It's quite the opposite.
I was about
When
to
I was
ask what the difference is
Yes.
because a lot of people might have heard of the milk ladder or the egg ladder. So, yes, I'd love to hear this.
But real milk from day one. So you're being desensitized with the most potent version of that protein. If it's peanuts, it's the roasted peanuts, not boiled, not cooked, not baked. It's the most potent, which is the roasted version. It's actually all prepared by the compounding pharmacists in the first 6 months of the program. So it's
Okay.
completely measurable to the smallest particle, 1000th percentile of the protein content. Compounding pharmacists make hormone medication. So for them, this is quite easy peasy. And this is why we have incorporated pharmacy component to be as precise as possible. I mean, their systems cost in excess of $20,000 for softwares and in excess of 20,000 for just the scale, which have to be recalibrated every 15 minutes. So their precision is unmatched. And this is how we ensure the quality control. Nothing is random. Everything is guided, measured, and individualized. And I had 2 children in the program. Responses are also different.
Yeah.
Some children zoom through the program. Some kids develop other health issues like ENT surgery, like my daughter had, which never stops the program. But obviously, if you have a surgery, you can't up those. You shouldn't up those that week. But everything is guided and measured. And the support which we provide to each other and to the program families is what guides this success. You are never alone in this program. So that is something that doesn't exist anywhere really. I think to this level, anywhere in the world. American doctors were shocked when I said we had different WhatsApp groups for different stages. I'll tell you a funny story. One of the Melbourne families was running out of one solution on a Saturday morning. Now, there is no way that you can send something cold, it has to be refrigerated on a Saturday morning that's food based to Melbourne. There is absolutely no way. But in our program, we have an aviation family. So we called on the aviation family and they said, give us half an hour. Let us think about it. Then we found out the aviation family member who was a pilot was actually flying from Adelaide via Sydney, via Melbourne back to Adelaide that afternoon. So we organized a fresh compounding. We drove to the airport, gave it to the pilot who personally delivered it to the father at the exit gate. Now that level of story, I don't think it can be matched. I mean, that's an extreme version of helping each other thanks to this aviation family. But it's a beautiful example of solidarity. And this is
Yeah.
what happens if
Yeah.
need be.
And I think the other thing that shines through about the program, apart from the science behind it, I have done a podcast with Dr. Jones and we delved into the research and the science, and it's unbelievably solid on that side of things. It's also got this huge humanitarian kind of side to it where instead of people feeling isolated, they are really wrapped up in a community where everyone understands what it's like. Everyone's experienced this and everyone knows the reality of how hard life can be at times when you have an allergy in the family. One of the things I was thinking before, and we probably don't have research on this yet, but when you were saying before that overseas that they start the program as young as 4 months, what I see in clinical practice is that we tend to see allergies in a cluster. So an allergy child has a higher risk of has a higher risk of dust mite allergies. Like there's sort of things that or asthma that they're prone to. So I'm thinking already, this is incredible. If you can reach food freedom as a young infant, then surely the risk of those concomitant conditions like asthma and eczema would be lower. I mean, this is remarkable stuff that's happening.
It's all about the microbiome. This is
Yeah.
the point of the program. Changing your microbiome, your skin microbiome, but most importantly, your gut microbiome. So Dr. Jones's protocol has always emphasized microbiome. I think now it's the latest buzzword of health. But for 12 years, he's been talking about the importance of vitamin D and the importance of healthy gut and healthy diet, wholesome foods. It is unusual for a doctor to be emphasizing food so much, but this is for problem with food. The body's recognizing food as an enemy. So retraining your whole immune system to recognize food as a friend, and not just food, but like you said, all the environmental factors as well. You need to also control the dust in your environment. Australia, everywhere you go, there are carpets and more carpets.
I know.
And that is a huge problem in schools, in childcare settings, in hotels. I think there should be a movement to carpetize our society because inflammation in the body from the dust mites, and more than half of Australians have a dust mite sensitivity,
Yeah.
not allergy. That would make a huge difference. Getting rid of the carpets from our bedrooms, from our childcare centers, and definitely from our schools. That's one task which our NGO has, and we will be advocating on that front.
I think that's just logical. One of the first things that I discuss when I'm working with an allergy family is their environment and how we can minimize the environmental kind of impact on this child's already very sensitive immune system. So yeah, naturopathically, I come really from the gut microbiome side of things. And I think that anything we can do from an environmental, even from lowering pesticide exposure and all of those things can really add up to achieving a lot of health benefits.
Apparently, a lot of toothpastes contain toxins and chemicals which are detrimental to all of us, especially young children. I recently did an interview with a professor from Switzerland who is the head of the Allergy Institute in Switzerland. And he pretty much said, whatever we do every single day needs to change. We need to change
Yeah.
our toothpaste, our dishwashing powder, our washing powder, and pretty much everything we're used to, and use a lot of bicarb soda instead. So
Yes.
that's back to the basics, pretty much. He was saying that it's in his theory, and it's called epithelial barrier theory. He says that our skin is being damaged so much that it changes our DNA through exposure to this toxin. We also try to educate our program families about clothes, if possible, to be cotton. I mean, we can't change everything, but if we can try and change not only food, but some parts of our environment, our exposures to toxins and harmful chemicals will be at least lesser.
Exactly. It's that body burden that we call it, that toxic body burden. If we can reduce that, it's definitely going to help. So, Nina, if people want to find out more about you, more about the program, where can they find you? We will put a lot of links in the show notes, but where can they find you?
I think Instagram and the website. So Instagram is at immunitygroup.australia and the website is immunitygroup.australia.com. We actually we haven't done much marketing and promotion because we are quite busy with helping families every day. But there are a couple of patient testimonials from our adult patients in particular. We love to say that even adults can reach food freedom. So in pretty much 95% of the world's OIT processes and clinics, adults are excluded, except for a couple of places. So we are proud to say our clinic is one of the places where you can, as an adult, embark on this journey. And adults are extremely compliant.
Yes.
Teenagers are the ones who can wiggle. Young kids and adults tend to do really, really well. The teenagers sometimes have other issues, such as going out and partying until late and maybe being hungover, which is not recommended during the
Yeah.
program. Early alcohol, if possible, should be at least minimized, if not completely stopped during the program. We have some testimonials, which is nice to see. And there is also a book. Dr. Johnson and I co-wrote a book called Immune Fitness Project. It's available on Amazon, Food Allergy Resilience. And there will be another one coming out from a patient's perspective as well. I think all of us have learned so much in this
Mm.
journey. And now each family will be sharing their own perspective about how they overcame their own fear, anxiety, also PTSS. Apparently, a lot of us have not PTSD, but PTSS, which is a subvariant of PTSD. And once you finish the program, not during the program, you feel empowered. You suddenly have all this energy. You're finally doing something to get rid of your number one enemy in life. But afterwards, you start reflecting on that. And that's often when moms need help. When
Yeah.
everything is done, when everything is back to as you imagine it would be after you finish, then you start thinking, what did just happen? Why was I entire life something that ended up being a lie? No one gave me a choice, even though the choice existed elsewhere, but it did exist. So you feel almost betrayed in your own country by your own specialist. Why would I not at least support the choice? They don't have to
Yes.
do it. More than 500 to 1,000 allergists and doctors who do it worldwide. So luckily, we are a stubborn flock. We like to push the boundaries. And this is exactly what led to Dr. Jones opening a clinic as a business owner with me in Australia. And it's been going very well so far.
And
Only
it's
patient-funded program in the world.
Yeah, which is incredible. And it was actually through a patient that I initially found out about Dr. Jones in the program. So I learned so much from my patients, which is just such an honor. It's fantastic to see. But thank you so much for joining us today. And anyone that wants to reach out, please reach out to Nina. She's a wealth of knowledge and always happy to help.
Anytime. Thank you so much, Emma, for having me in your beautiful podcast.
Thank you so much for being with me today. Don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button below. Check out the links in the show notes for more health empowering information and feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below.